Good morning. So, or actually, whatever, whenever you decide to hear this, today is May the 10th, 2024. And I'm going to read something that I found. The Moroccan American Treaty of Peace and Friendship, also known as the Treaty of Marrakesh, was a bilateral agreement signed in 1786 that established diplomatic and commercial relations between the United States and Morocco. It was the first treaty between the U.S. and an Arab, African, and Muslim nation, and initiated what, as of 2024, remains the longest unbroken, hear me, unbroken diplomatic relationship in U.S. history. Well, if any of you are as curious as I am, don't get lost in the words United States, U.S., and other wordsmithing that goes on in our current society. So as I scroll, it's going to be pretty interesting, especially when I stop. And please stop the video so you can read, but I want to stop right here. Moorish sovereign citizens. What is that? I haven't clicked it yet, so we will discover together. Moorish sovereign citizens. The Moorish sovereign citizen movement, sometimes called, imagine that, the indigenous sovereign citizen movement. It is a small subgroup of sovereign citizens that mainly holds to the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and in that African Americans are descendants of the Moabites and thus are Moorish by nationality and Islamic by faith. Now, I haven't vetted that, so don't shoot the messenger. Look at that. Some more words that I've noticed. During the 1990s, the Moorish sovereign citizen movement was started by former followers of the Moorish Science Temple and the Washita Nation. This is a very, very interesting. Oh my. This is a very interesting little rabbit that I fell down. I have never seen David Wayne Miller and in any readings connected to this subject. Interesting. Okay, well, whatever. I will move on. It just honestly makes me. It makes me be very apprehensive on things that I find nowadays, and I'm not taking away from anybody's research and or knowledge, so hear me out. I'm not taking away, and the only reason why I fell into this rabbit hole is because I'm looking at the Philippines and President McKinley and what he supposedly did regarding purchasing the Philippines from the Spanish after the Philippines had already fought Spain for their independence. So why would they purchase when Spain supposedly was not controlling the Philippines. So y'all, pardon. Sorry about that. So as I continue, you see, I had other links up. I was not searching what my last, or what my initial reason to even record started out from. It actually started from Ursa Minor, a post that one of my sisters had shared on Instagram. I was like, what's that? So, that's what happens to Tracy when she does what she does. First, I looked at Ursa Minor. Didn't really learn much because I don't know much. So then I decided to look at different little maps of where I was born. Actually, this is where my body entered, well, not officially, but kind of, where my body exited my mother when I was born and became living and breathing. I shouldn't even say living, because I quite honestly believe that fetuses are alive. But that's neither here nor there. So, I was just looking at different maps in the Philippines. And sorry if I'm kind of like going all over the place, but you are watching my video, and this is what I do. I was just looking at the different maps on raremaps.com, one of my favorite websites. I love looking at maps, and I love looking at the dates. This one I was like, I did not know that there was a lumber industry in the Philippines. Who knows? Because my comprehension of anything in the early 1900s and after, I have a hard time believing. But that's just my opinion. Okay, so I love this. Philippine Islands, one of our previous names, apparently. 1724. Another little picture of the islands. But this one here is what really got me, which is probably one of the rabbit holes I'll go down later in life. Hopefully not too soon, but I'm trying to find it, so apologies. If you are here while I'm scrolling, here, we used to be called the Carolinas Island, or New Philippines. What? That was 1803, so maybe from London though, but. And then here will be a second rabbit hole that my little mind would like to go down. And that is, it'll be here soon. It is, look at that. Look at that horn. I don't know what it's called. I know I have a longer, it's a ram's horn. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, mind. Thank you, Jesus. This right here, Philippine Islands and Spice Islands. From 1749. And funny how it's Paris, because the Treaty of Paris is where the negotiations of President McKinley and the Spanish is where they did the transaction to purchase the Philippines. But my problem with that is, if they purchased the Philippines, why in the F is the Philippines still so freaking behind? That's all I want to know. Because obviously they didn't purchase it for anything any good for the people of the Philippines, but whatever. That's my attitude, so pardon me. So, anyways, here's the maps. It has farther down to go. I'm only barely halfway, and I'm gonna move from that idea, and I will go back into the reason why I ended up where we began. So, I was looking at this, and I thought, that's interesting that they had the ability to draw these pictures. How would they even have done that if they weren't already there? And why would they just take a picture? I mean, I don't, forgive me because I don't know when cameras really came out. I don't pay attention to that stuff. So if someone has the wisdom on that, please share, and please don't beat me up because I don't really think about those things, and I probably should. This was interesting. I was looking at the Bay of Subic, and it's not really spelled the way that it's spelled now, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose. But I just thought that was interesting that we have a oopsie daisy, sorry, my bad. This and this kalalaki, which means male, it started from when I was looking at the Bay of Subic. Subic starting with an S, because I never saw it start with an S before. I've seen it with a C and a Z, but never an S. Where did it go? Let's find that little map. Oh, I know. I think it's down a little farther because it looked similar to the picture that they have for the Bay of Manila. Which I thought was very interesting because it really doesn't look like what you think it would look like. Oh, look at that. I totally missed this one. Tartary. You see that? That's another one of my favorite subjects to go down. Tartaria. Oh, wow. Okay. Alright, my baby boy is out listening to his new favorite song. So if you hear it in the background, enjoy. And look at that. Japan used to start with an I. For those of us who comprehend that J was not a letter previously. Ipan. Les Isles Lipan. Ipan. Ipon? Ipon. Okay. Anyway, that's not why I was scrolling, so pardon me again. Here we go. This is the Manila Bay. Looks similar to that. Which actually I've seen another coast off of West Africa that has a concave like that as well. This is Manila Bay again. Let's see. Manila Bay. Interesting how they spell it. Manilas. Nope, another Manila. This is what got me. The Port de Subic. That's where I went. I started here on this map, which got me to Calake, and then which moved me to, after I read the article from the New York paper, from a New York paper, not a New York paper, ended up in here looking up point of views of the war during President McKinley. Didn't really go down there much, except for when I started thinking about I started thinking about, I think it was here, no. Yeah, no, okay, so this is where I was reading about the McKinley and what this article had to say, which I was kind of baffled about because, I mean, we're portrayed like we were not all that righteous. I mean, but even right here, this is the part that got me when I was reading this, is the article that I found when I searched Filipinos' point of view of President McKinley. And pardon me, I want to look exactly. Filipinos' point of view, where is it at? Filipinos' point of view of war during President McKinley. I'm hoping that's the last of it that I cut. Yep, that's the last of it. So so that got me here. And this was very interesting. So I will read. I will say that this is McKinley to Protestant clergy at the White House. Oh, so let me begin. In November 1898, McKinley met with a group of Protestant clergy at the White House in Washington, D.C. Just before his guests were about to leave, he said to them, "Before you go, I would like to say just a word about the Philippine business. I have been criticized a good deal about the Philippines, but don't deserve it. Okay. The truth is, I don't want the Philippines. Okay. And when they came to us as a gift from the gods, I did not know what to do with them. When the Spanish War broke out, Dewey was at Hong Kong and I ordered him to go to Manila. That's in the Philippines. That's that bay I was showing you on the maps, raremaps.com. And he had to. Of course he did. Because if defeated, he had no place to refit on that side of the globe. Interesting. He had nowhere else to go. If he, being on that side of the world, he was on that portion, China, Philippines, not too far apart. Supposedly the American continent was very far away. So he had to be able to dock somewhere. And considering that Philippines was an international port for a very, very, very long time, I suppose it would be a great place for him to stop over. So let's just go ahead and seize that little island just so he could make sure he has a place to stop. But that's just my opinion, so I'll move on. Because if defeated, he had no place to refit on that side of the globe. And if the Dons, look at that. For example, the Spaniards were victorious, they would likely cross the Pacific and ravage our Oregon and California coast. And so he had to destroy the Spanish fleet and did it. Imagine, this is him still talking, okay? Outside of my opinions. But that was as far as I thought then. Interesting. I'll just go and conquer that little island. I don't really give a F about them, but whatever. That's just me being highly sensitive right now, being that I am Filipino. When next I realized that the Philippines had dropped into our laps, I confess I did not know what to do with them. Again, he says that. I don't know what to do with them. How about give us our freaking freedom that we were fighting for with the Spanish? But I move on. I sought counsel from all sides, Democrats as well as Republicans, but got little help. I thought first we should take only Manila, then Luzon, then other islands, perhaps also. I walked the floor of the White House night after night until midnight, and I am not ashamed to tell you, gentlemen, that I went down on my knees and prayed to Almighty God for light and guidance more than one night. I need to pause right here because I am so sorry, but you are over here professing that it was a gift from the gods and then have the freaking nerve to pray to Almighty God. I'm sorry. Maybe his Almighty God is different from my Most High. I will move on and I will leave it at that because I believe they are not the same. And I'll move on from that. So if y'all believe in Most High, then you know where my indignation is coming from. And then if you don't, that's okay too. Okie dokie. And one night like it came to me this way. I didn't know how it was, but it came. I can already tell you how it came. But that we could not give them back to Spain. Give them back to Spain. Okay. We had already... Let me stop. That would be cowardly and dishonorable. 2, another option, that we could not turn them over to France or Germany. I mean, considering they are our commercial rivals in the Orient. Hello. That would be bad business and discreditable. Another thought, we could not leave them to themselves. They were unfit for self-government. Look at that. And they would soon have anarchy and misrule over there worse than Spain was. Well, look at that. We are so opinionated, aren't we? That's this man called President McKinley. And mind you, you guys, we're still in the quotes up here at the top of this little clip that I'm showing you. And one night. Okay, so I'm not, yeah, okay. I know I have a lot of opinions right now, but I will digress. And the 4th is that there was nothing left for us to do but to take them all and to educate the Filipinos and uplift and civilize and Christianize them, and by God's grace do the very best we could by them as our fellow men for whom Christ also died. How dare he compare himself? And I am so sorry, but if you know the God that I know, I don't think this is any of him. Okay. And then I went to bed and I went to sleep and I slept soundly. And the next morning I sent for the chief engineer of the War Department, our map maker. Look at that. And told him to put the Philippines on the map of the United States, pointing to a large map on the wall of his office. And there they are. And there they will stay while I am president. What the fuck? Excuse me. God, forgive me that I'm so angry. Okay, y'all. This was from The Roots of the Filipino Nation, Volume 2 by O.D. Corpus. McKinley did not finish his second term in office. on September 6, 1901, at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, an anarchist, imagine that, Leon, and I do apologize because I cannot say your surname, so I will skip it so I don't butcher it, would shoot him with a revolver at close range. After a brief moment, he expired a few days later on September 14th. His successor, Theodore Roosevelt, would be an even stronger exponent of American power and influence in world affairs. Y'all, come on now. This is some crazy talk. The Roman philosopher Cicero said, "To remain ignorant of what happened before you were born is to remain always a child." Well, my opinion of that is, if we are studying things that have been purposefully written in the eyes of the winner, how in the world are we to truly know what truly happened? And I will leave that thought there. So anyways, this is some article, daily, the Philippine Daily Inquirer. Interesting that they have these accolades, but whatever. So then I said, my mind thought, well, let's look at congressional records. And of course, why not? Because I trust them so much too. I say that sarcastically, okay, you guys? So then that brought me here. I couldn't really see much because I really wanted to read this article. I don't have access to it, so I'll just leave it right here. Maybe if one of you have access to it and you decide to share with me, that will be a gift. Okay, so then I went here, trying to find it elsewhere, that same article, without having to sign on to anything. Oh, excuse me. Interesting right here. The Meddler's Trap, McKinley, the Philippines, and the difficulty. Interesting. It's been said that the fight in the Philippines was the first Vietnam, but that's neither here nor there, right? Okay, so here's a treaty that the Treaty of Paris, which had me very interested because I was like, I did not know that there was a Treaty of Paris that included my people. So the Treaty of Paris between the United States of America and the Kingdom of Spain, commonly known as the Treaty of Paris of 1896, was signed by Spain and the United States on December 10, 1898. That ended, imagine that ended the Spanish-American War. Now, I'm sorry, weren't you guys over there on that side because you're trying to negotiate with China because you were in Hong Kong, and then you supposedly sent somebody over to the Philippines because the Filipinos were fighting Spain, and you could not leave the Filipinos alone because they would not know how to self-govern themselves? Because I did read that. But whatever. Remember, we are reading stuff that has been manipulated, and we're reading it from the point of view of the winners. Gosh, I would love to read something from Spain. At least in my language, because I don't know how to read Spanish. So if there's someone who has anything that contradicts this in regards to this episode of our world history, please share that with me. I would love to know. Okay, so as I move on, Spain relinquished all claim of sovereignty over and title to territories described there as the island of Puerto Rico. Come on now. How did I get all involved in there? And other islands now under Spanish sovereignty in the West Indies and the island of Guam. Look at this. In the Marianas or Ladrones, the archipelago known as the Philippine Islands, and comprehending the islands laying within the following line. Details in lid. 2. United States. The cession of the Philippines involved a compensation of $20 million from United States to Spain. I'm assuming that this is dollars or their fiat currency because the dollar sign is in front, but other currencies have a dollar sign. So let us not get spun around. The Treaty of Paris. Isn't that interesting? The map of my little island that I am, my people are native. I just thought that was so interesting. Treaty of Paris. I was like, interesting, because I've seen those words before, and that's how I ended up with the Treaty of Peace and Friendship from the beginning of the video over 30 minutes ago. So if you are still here, then I truly believe you're my people. And if you've clicked off before this, it's okay, because I'm having fun all by myself reading this. This is so funny. This is why I have a hard time believing what we are reading. There's a lot of wordsmithing going on, even on so-called vetted, self-authenticated articles. I'm not saying that this is self-authenticated at all. What I'm saying is I have a hard time believing things that I read. I mean, look at this. This is just... I mean, why is there a French diplomat here? Like, I don't understand. And a senator from Minnesota and Maine and Delaware. What's happening here? I just scrolled right over it, not even paying attention. So this is Article 5 of the Peace Protocol between United States and Spain, August 12, 1898. Read as follows. Okay, remember, this is just a portion, okay, you guys? So don't get caught up. The United States and Spain will each appoint not more than 5 commissioners to treat of peace, and the commissioners so appointed shall meet at Paris no later than October 1st, 1898, and proceed to the negotiation and conclusion of the Treaty of Peace, which treaty shall be subject to ratification according to the respective constitutional forms of the 2 countries. Okay, so they're just basically appointing their agents to go and negotiate for them a contract. So these American delegates were these gentle people, I guess. Day, who was a chairman, a former United States Secretary of State, who resigned from the position to lead the commission. Oh, wow, you must have gotten a raise. Fry, a senator of Maine. Davis, a senator of Minnesota. Gray, a senator of Delaware. Interesting. Okay. Reed, a former diplomat and former nominee for vice president. Interesting. And then the new Secretary of State signing the memorandum of ratification on behalf of the United States. The Spanish Commission included. So here's their diplomats. That's why. Oh, okay. So we have a French diplomat. So, okay. So we are international. That's fine. That's okay. I'm okay with that because that's just how it is. I think it's all just an act. But that's just me. Okay. Look at this. Agoncillo, a Filipino lawyer who represented the First Philippine Republic, was denied participation in the negotiation. Well, why is that? I mean, oh, because we couldn't self-govern. Okay, that's why. But we had lawyers back then. We had, I'm sure, more than one educated person that held the title of a lawyer. And I already understand that implication that I just said lawyer. But regardless, we had at least one lawyer in the Philippines who was denied participation in the negotiation. That's very interesting. So these two big companies come and usurp my little mom and pop store, and I can't even have a rep there to take notes to make sure what's being transmitted back to my people is not a lie. That's why he wasn't allowed to participate. Because I'm sure he was there just for note-taking and data. I'm wondering if the other islands try to send somebody as well. You know, like Puerto Rico and Guam and all them. This is pretty interesting. Let me read on because I feel like I'm in a space that might lead me down another rabbit hole later in life. For almost a month, negotiations revolved around Cuba. The Teller Amendment to the Declaration of War made it impractical for the United States to annex the island as it had with Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. I wonder why that is. At first, Spain refused to accept the Cuban national debt of $400 million, but ultimately had no choice. Eventually, it was agreed that Cuba was to be granted independence and for the Cuban debt to be assumed by Spain. It was also agreed that Spain would cede Guam and Puerto Rico to the United States. That is very interesting. And if you know, you know. And if you don't, that's okay too. The negotiators then turned to the question of the Philippines. Spanish negotiators were determined to hang on to all they could and hope to cede only Mindanao and perhaps the Sula Islands. On the American side, Chairman Day had once recommended the acquisition of only the naval base in Manila as the hitching post. Others had recommended remaining only in the island of Luzon. Well, of course, because the southern Philippines was being run by the I don't want to say militia, but the guerrilla war, the men that were taking part of the militia. It's the same here in America because when the war ended, when the war ends on this American territory, North American territory, that we call United States of America, which I call the states that are united in North America. When that war is final, is when the state militia army is to take over. I read that, or I heard that being read to me just this last week. I have not ran down that rabbit hole, but if someone has, please share an article, because I would love to see how that could even happen when it seems like they've been disbanded. That's just an opinion. Again, don't shoot the reader, okay? It's only what I see. So anyways, however, in discussions with its advisors. The commission concluded that Spain, if it retained part of the Philippines, would be likely to sell it to another European power, which would likely be troublesome to America. Imagine that. On November 25th, the American Commission listen to this, cabled, okay? So we have no kind of technology that supposedly we have now, where we're on the internet and we are interfacing with each other by way of however it transmits. I have no clue, and I really don't care at this moment of time. And the article that was in a newspaper in New York, and I know New York as the northeast, the upper northeast area of North America. So they had an article of McKinley winning the war in the Philippines over the Spanish, and they had drawings instead of pictures, because of course we are cabling information. We transmit via cable. What cable are they talking about? Like, what cable did they have? Like, is there like a cable? Come on, you guys, walk with me here. Is there a cable that wherever he is, he's in Paris, is there a cable already that goes from that part of the world to wherever McKinley was staying at that point of time? What cable did we have? Because if there's cable in the that's, when I think of cable, you guys, I think of like a cable coming from my wall that's connected to the outer world somehow, going into my computer or my TV cable box, or directly into my TV, or even a cable that comes from a wall socket going and giving me electricity. So a cable to me is something that is wired. So when they cabled McKinley for explicit instructions, how in the world did they cable it? Is their cable the same as my cable? Like, are they wired somehow? Like, how? How did it transmit from one location to the other back then? Again, it is something my mind thinks of but does not want to spend time in researching. So if anybody has that data already at hand, please share it. If not, it is okay, because my life will not stop because of that. So the cable crossed one from McKinley saying that duty left him no choice but to demand the entire archipelago. That was the whole entire Philippines. So he was going to demand it, because he really didn't want us. We are essentially a stepchild, okay? So let's just keep it real. The next morning, another cable from McKinley arrived to accept merely Luzon, leaving the rest of the islands subject to Spanish rule, or to be subject to further contention, cannot be justified on political, commercial, or humanitarian grounds. The cession must be the whole archipelago or none. The latter is wholly inadmissible, and the former must therefore be required. Do you see that? Do you see what he just said? We cannot let them go. We got to take them over, and that's that.